Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. I am meteorologist Adam Claiborne and this is Weather Out West. And for those of you who have been with us before, you know what it's about. But for those of you who are new, this is going to be an hour-long show where we showcase what's happening across the western part of the United States, weather-wise, that is. And you'll find coverage from the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West and California to Arizona in the Southwest. And well, for today, we do have some active weather down in Northern California. We actually have a weather impact alert day in Sacramento, and we're probably talking about some showers down there. Maybe a bit early for this time of the year, but Monica Woods has all the details for you coming up.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods tracking our first fall system heading Northern California. It's coming in with very little fanfare. I will just put that out there. We're still tracking showers, though, in our regional headlines for the coast, the valley, the foothills, and the Sierra. It's not going to be a huge whopper of a storm, but it's worth an interesting note, if nothing else. Tracking the first fall rain. So the low pressure system that initially kind of opened things up moving through on Monday, now moving off to the north. Behind it, we've got another weather system that's going to drive that storm track a little bit deeper to the south. This one kind of riding right along the coast, and we'll continue to monitor at least the chance for rain. Now, that being said, things don't really get going until December, January, and February, where 50% of our annual rainfall comes in. So this is kind of the beginning edges of this. We're coming off of several months without wetting rain, and the atmosphere is terribly dry. It takes a lot to kind of bust through that dryness. Sometimes we get lucky and that first fall rain really gets in with a robust system and gets going early in the season, but it usually doesn't happen until November, December, and into January. Now, this is building of a water year. Today marks the end of our water year, September 30th. We're going to close the books on what was and open up the next water year, which begins on October 1st. So that's usually when, again, we start to see things ramping up in terms of rainfall, 50% of that annual precipitation, December, January, and February. So how are things going to wrap up? Well, on the drier side throughout much of California, a little bit wetter here on the northern end of the state. All that being said, reservoirs are still in a really healthy state. Looking ahead to this upcoming water year, we have a lot in play, one of which is going to be La Nina. So it looks like that's really going to peak October, November, and December, and then start to enter more of a neutral phase right at about the time that we start to see the 50% of our annual precipitation usually come in. Precipitation averages with a La Nina signal, especially a weak one, doesn't have much of a signal. Generally, we get near to slightly above average precipitation for Northern California. Southern California near to slightly below average, but again, that's just averages over a period of time. Now, there's a little something else that's brewing in the Pacific. Here's the El Nino region, by the way, the ENSO region, I should say. North of that, we've got this brewing blob. It's a warm area of North Pacific waters that are up about 2 to 5 degrees above average. We're waiting to see what kind of play that could have. It could, in essence, build a significant high pressure ridge, which would keep most of these systems from coming in and impacting northern and central California. We've seen it before, and it's not pretty. We end up in drought here. In terms of this first little wetting rain, though, it's mostly favoring areas north of I-80. And as we head into the longer range forecast into the week, you can see how that next one kind of starts to drive its way southward here. In terms of huge precipitation totals, we're just not seeing it. Anywhere from about 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of rain. But overall, this isn't a huge, again, whopper of a system. It is going to keep us cooler, though. 50s up top for the Sierra, 60s and 70s down low for the foothills. And even through Yosemite, highs are going to warm into the 50s, 60s, and 70s, 80s for inland areas, which normally favor the mid to upper 80s. 60s along the central coast. We'll see that in the Bay Area as well. 70s for inland areas, and we'll see that pretty much represented in the northern part of the state where we see the best chance of rain. We're going to be tough to bring in precipitation in the capital region. Highs, though, much cooler than average. Moving on to our extended forecast, we've got that chance of rain Tuesday, Wednesday, very early on Thursday. Thursday is actually our transition day out of the rain, and we'll get back to drier and warmer weather heading into the weekend. Beautiful fall conditions, by the way, Saturday and Sunday.
All right, looks like things are going to be a little wet here for the next couple of days there in Northern California. All right, we're going to head down the interstate, head all the way down to Southern California for next. So we have been dealing with some monsoonal moisture, but it looks like things will be letting up just a bit as we head closer to San Diego. And that's going to mean, too, a little more of that onshore flow helps with that mugginess as that starts to break just a bit. Details with Vanessa Paz right now.
Happy Taco Tuesday. CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz here as we wrap up the month of September, which has been unusually cooler than normal. It didn't feel like that, though, because of the mugginess due to that surge of monsoon moisture, the ongoing moisture that we felt across the board. We're finally getting some relief as we start off October. We are going to have increase in onshore flow. Won't really happen until we get to the weekend, the first weekend of October, and it's going to be feeling very fall-like to get the new month started. All right, shout out to one of our viewers, Janet Legaspi, who sent in this photo to our newsroom. This is of last night's sunset, and this is actually taken from Windansea, very popular spot here in San Diego. Here are the weather headlines as we get the end of September and the start of October going. So today we'll have a mix of sun and clouds, cooler than normal. That will be the trend persisting for the rest of the week. And we're looking at subtle midweek warming, but we'll still run below seasonal. And then that marine layer, it's been pretty thick over the past couple of days. It will become a lot more shallower as onshore flow starts to decrease a bit. We do have a nice cool down as we start off October happening this weekend. As we wrap up the month, here is September at a glance. This is data recorded at San Diego International Airport. That's where we collect all of the numbers in downtown San Diego. The average high in downtown for September, 77 degrees. Now, it doesn't feel so warm, doesn't look so warm, but the reason why it felt warm, especially to San Diegans, is because of that push of monsoon moisture. It was extremely uncomfortable a lot of days of the month, but again, looking ahead to October, things are going to switch gears a bit. The warmest day was September 15th at 83 degrees, coolest day end of September at 71. All right, switching to current conditions, today's highs. Here's what's on tap for the coastal areas. Will be mostly in the mid to low 70s. Those daytime highs will run cooler than average. Meanwhile, for interior parts of the county, some spots like El Cajon, which should typically be in the 80s for this time of the year, will top out in the upper 70s. So we'll struggle to get out of the 70s for a lot of the inland communities. We have a high of 69 degrees later on for Palomar Mountain, and we'll be hitting highs in the 90s for Borrego Springs. Our winds are going to have an uptick due to that onshore flow strengthening today, and then they'll subside a little bit looking ahead to tomorrow. Isolated gusts, notice the color contour highlighted in the red maroon color, could get up to 30, 45 miles per hour or so. The clouds will break apart this afternoon, making way for sunshine, and then they'll roll back in overnight, but we'll see a lot less of them as that onshore flow sort of weakens in the coming days. So here's that area of low pressure saturating the northwest quadrant of the country. We have this ridge of high pressure that's going to warm things up in the south, and this will contribute to milder conditions tomorrow and Thursday. It will also decrease the marine layer. So here's what's happening tomorrow afternoon. On Wednesday, we'll top out in the mid 70s. Pretty comparable to what we're expecting for today. The inland valleys, meanwhile, will be in the low 80s. For those areas that hug the 15, will climb into the high 70s. Some areas will touch in the 80s, including Escondido as well as Valley Center. Tomorrow and Thursday are looking like some of the warmest days of the next 7, and then temperatures will take a back seat as we look ahead to the weekend. So we're looking at mid 70s along the coastal areas for your Wednesday, back into the low 70s by the time we get towards the latter part of the weekend. Minimal daily changes for the coast and inland valleys. The mountain areas will see the biggest fluctuation of those daytime highs. We'll go from the high 70s to the low 70s by the time we get to Friday. So we have that ridge of high pressure that's going to warm things up, and then in will come this trough of low pressure, cutoff low that's going to kind of save the day, cooling us down just in time for the weekend. Desert areas will be topping out in the mid to high 90s, low 90s by Friday, and then 80s rebounding by the time we get to the weekend.
Looks like many of us are now beginning to see that transition into fall, and we're talking more fall-like weather that's beginning to show up here across the west. And one spot that really starts to see active weather during the fall season is the northwest, and we do have some active weather on the way. We're going to tell you about that and head up towards the northwest with Spokane and Seattle coming up next. Welcome back, everyone. So we mentioned how now that we're getting ready to head through the end of September and into the start of October, fall-like weather, that's going to be returning for many of us. And one spot in particular, not only just the Northwest, but Washington State gets a lot of active weather in the form of rain for many spots. And the mountains, too, they get a ton of snowfall. Well, we are going to see some rain here in some spots farther east across the state of Washington in Spokane. And after maybe some early clouds, we do see that the rainfall maybe is going to be limited here for today, but we do have some more on the way later into the week. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick with the details.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. We've kicked off the day with quite a bit of rainfall. Since the early morning hours, things are already starting to dry out and some locations getting quite sunny as well. It'll be a very quick transition from a cloudy morning like this, as you see over Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, to an almost perfectly sunny afternoon. Very fast transition from the rain to the sun today, before more rain tomorrow as well. So with that, let's go to the weather map, a wide view of the Pacific Northwest. Two cold fronts analyzed across the region here. The first having just crossed eastern Washington, and it is currently laid out over North Idaho. Most of the rain to the east of this boundary, and there's drier and sunnier conditions behind it. And it's also nestled in between the next cold front. This is basically the center of this entire storm and cooler air for the Pacific Northwest. And basically these two fronts dictating when we're getting rainfall in eastern Washington. So that first batch of rain appears to be done, and we'll find ourselves in this quiet and dry spot just in between the two storms. So that's why we go quickly from rain to sunshine this afternoon. In fact, our computer modeling is absolutely dry and clear and sunny all afternoon long. Then the next storm arrives. That hits at around 8 to 10 o'clock tonight for central and eastern Washington. And like last night, it is more light scattered showers around Spokane. Maybe the occasional downpour, but pretty few and far between. This does roll all the way into Wednesday morning here, and this is actually Wednesday at noon, and it's still mostly scattered showers in the region. If I had to compare today to tomorrow, looks like Wednesday will be slightly wetter, not by much because it is still scattered showers at the end of the day. But it does look like anywhere between eastern Washington and North Idaho should be decently wet, picking up maybe 1 or 2/10 of an inch of rain. I will say the Pullman computer modeling observation here, a bit of an outlier. I think we'll be between about 1/10 of an inch or so, but still less compared to our friends on the west side because they get more widespread rain. We end up getting more scattered showers and scattered rainfall ultimately. Again, as we look at the big picture, the storm center that's over the Pacific Northwest will give western Washington plenty of widespread rain. But as this trough stays over the Pacific Northwest, that low pressure center does fade and weaken quite a bit. It still leaves showers on the west side, but because we're surrounded by mountains basically from every which direction around Spokane, that prevents a lot of that moisture from actively arriving in this region. So Thursday and Friday trends quite a bit drier here compared to perhaps others in the Pacific Northwest. But the trough will finally keep things a little bit cool. Speaking of which, we are on pace and are going to break the record warmest September ever in Spokane. Our average high temperature the whole month has been 81 degrees, which is insanely warm. And even today, technically, we're forecasting 1 degree above average for this afternoon. Now, I would call that at average, but it's not going to be enough to drop us into second place, not on just this one single day. Funny enough, the sunshine should warm us up, but the cold front is cooling us down at the same time. So that balances us out temperature-wise, so that's why we're pretty much near average today in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene with a high of 68 degrees. The following cold front gives us another notch downward temperature-wise, though we stay in the mid-60s for the rest of the week. So finally feeling like fall just in time for the first day of October.
All right, yeah, looking like fall. It is here in Washington State, and that's the eastern side of the state. The western side of the state, meteorologist Thomas Patrick was showing you how we had that first wave move through that's heading east, and then we have a second wave that's coming in from the west off of the Pacific, and that will be meaning, Seattle. will be getting hit first with that. And it looks like some showers are on the way. For the timing of that, let's check in with meteorologist Rich Marriott.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Rich Marriott. And we had a pretty good round of rain yesterday, kind of wetted things down. But overnight last night, we saw the showers wrap up, and we've been clearing this morning. Though we've seen a bit of fog form out there. You see on the Doppler radar, we still have showers out towards the Olympic Peninsula, but pretty much dry up and down that I-5 corridor at mid-morning on Tuesday. But you can see another band of rain out there. There's another front headed our way. It's going to spread rain back into Puget Sound by about 4 to 5 o'clock this afternoon. It'll be moving up from the south and move up and cover the entire Sound by the time we get towards the end of the evening commute. So it looks like that's going to turn kind of wet later today. Keep that in mind. Looking out this morning, though, things look pretty nice once we've got that clearing underway. Bellingham seeing some blue sky there. A little motion in the camera there. We did have some gusty winds up there to the north of Everett this morning. And it is going to get kind of blustery here for the next couple of days up and down the Sound as we have a low that's going to be parked close to us. Checking the Granite Falls camera, you can see a little bit of clearing even going on there towards the Cascade foothills. And in Everett, we did have quite a bit of sunshine earlier, and then a bank of fog moved through. That's cleared out already, and hopefully they'll get a few more glimpses of sun before the clouds cover it all up. And they're in Tacoma, lots of sunshine right now, and pretty view looking out there towards Mount Rainier. They did see quite a bit of fog earlier today, but that's already been burned off by the sun, so they're in pretty good shape. Cloudy out towards Westport there along the coast. The clouds from that approaching system probably already starting to move in there, so they're not going to see a whole lot of sunshine out along the coastal beaches. Our first alert 7-day forecast, you can see we turn wet, and it looks pretty wet off and on Wednesday and Thursday. It's going to be off and on showers, but some pretty good shower bands moving through, and it's going to be breezy up and down the Sound. And with all the leaves still on the trees and the new summer growth, this is kind of the first wind they've seen, so we could see some branches, maybe even a few isolated trees come down. Might see a couple of spotty power outages. We're not looking for widespread outages, but especially up in some of the northern counties, there might be a few spots that the limb falls in the wrong place and takes out a power line. So keep that in mind in the next couple of days. But that wraps up by the end of the week, and as we head into the division playoffs over the Sunday and Saturday and Sunday, plus Seahawks game, plus a Sounders game over the weekend. Very busy outdoor sports over the weekend. It looks like it turns partly sunny, so pretty good timing there. In fact, we look for some sun as we head into next week. This is the cause of it all. This is the front that's pushing in today, looking pretty substantial, and it's going to give us quite a bit more rain than what we saw out of the system that moved through last night. And that is great news for the Bear Gulch fire in western Washington and the couple of fires that are over there in eastern Washington. This has cooled them down and maybe start putting them out a bit, which would be helpful, and also cut down on the smoke because we're going to have these gusty winds with them as well. Behind that, we do have this low kind of circulating out here. Those are rotating out of. That's going to drift towards us over the next couple of days and then finally move through here later on Thursday. But it's going to continue to rotate in these shower bands, keeping us wet off and on for Wednesday and Thursday. It does look like we'll see maybe a chance of a few isolated thunderstorms in there as well. And those gusty winds will be continuing as those bands move through the area. But beyond that, high pressure starts to build in by the time we hit later Thursday into Friday, and that should be what dries us out as we head over the weekend and on into next week. If we check the computer model, you can see in terms of that rain moving in this afternoon, by about 4 to 5 o'clock, it starts to push its way into the South Sound. It's coming up from the south, so the rain will start first down in the South Sound and then spread a little bit later up to the North Sound. So at least the North Sound, you'll be able to see it coming. That moves on through, and we get the front through by early tomorrow morning, and then you see just these bands of showers kind of move on through, keeping us wet. Occasional sun breaks mixed in there as well, but overall getting into a pretty wet pattern. If we take a look at the air quality, still some air quality problems over there, primarily in Chelan and Douglas counties, but there is good news. They expect it to expire later on today, and the air quality is going to be really improving. If we put the smoke model into motion, you can see we pretty much blow the smoke out of there, and the fire is cool, so they're going to be producing less smoke, it looks like. So we'll be looking at good air quality on our side of the Cascades all the way through, but east of the Cascades still a little marginal today, but by the time we head into tomorrow, we're going to be looking for them to be into the moderate range and maybe even better in that if those fires really cool down. So for today, here on the west side of the Cascades, increasing rain spreading up from the south after about 3 to 4 to 5 o'clock this afternoon. That'll be up and down the Sound by the end of the commute. Highs fairly mild in the 60s to near 70 degrees. Off and on showers and sun breaks. Also breezy at times, kind of blustery both Wednesday and Thursday, but just a couple showers left for Friday. Partly sunny over the weekend and mid 60s. Then we start off next week with sunshine and highs in the mid to upper 60s.
As Rich was mentioning, we do have some fires that are still across parts of the Northwest. So to get some of this rain to come in here and start to cool down some of these fires and eventually hopefully help to really put them out is going to be really nice to see. So we'll see if things continue to improve on that front. Well, all this rain that's going from west to east will eventually continue to head east, and eventually areas like Idaho get in on the action. So we're going to check in on Boise's forecast and also head down farther south on I-5 to Portland to see how things are shaping up there too when we get back. Welcome back, everyone. So we've talked about the rain moving from west to east, moving through Seattle, through Spokane, and then eventually off here towards the east, getting closer to Boise in Idaho. And so we do have a forecast to tell you about that because we've seen rain here recently. We're going to go over some of those totals, but we're also going to talk about how there is more shower chances here later on into the week as we head over the next few days. Fall definitely is here. Hector Mendoza has the latest.
Hello, my name is Hector Mendoza, forecasting out here of Boise, Idaho, and we had some storms that rolled through the Treasure Valley and other spots here in Boise. And here is a view of what some of the stormy skies we saw, but this time with the sort of purplish hue that we're seeing off into the distance. It looks like it's some aurora activity that's happening there into the skies, but not really, as we are going to be seeing that there's a facility out there that has made for some of those purple hues in some of those storm clouds. But here is a look as we take a look at some of these videos of some of the storms that we saw yesterday here specifically in Boise. As you can see, heavy rain, and all of these videos posted on our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page, and you could see all of that there with some of that rain coming down through there. And again, it looked very heavy, and this is all from last night, as we didn't see much there through the afternoon, and most of that came in through the overnight hours, and that's where we got most of these totals here as we look on ahead, as we got about over 6/10 of an inch here through Boise, about a ½ an inch out in Caldwell, and a little bit less there in Ontario and out in Mountain Home, as we got a little under a ½ of an inch out in Mountain Home. But we are anticipating maybe adding on to those totals as we get towards the rest of today and into the next couple of days heading closer into the weekend. But then yesterday we also saw some of those storm chances with a lot of that windy condition there, about 40-mile-per-hour gusts that we saw out in Mountain Home. But as we got towards the afternoon, temperatures were into those low 80s, so a pretty warm day yesterday before those storms started to roll through. But these are the views that we're going to be seeing here for the rest of the day, as our satellite and radar picture shows some of that storm activity continuing there for portions of eastern Idaho and through the Magic Valley. We have seen that for some spots it stayed there closer to the Idaho-Nevada border, so through Twin Falls, still seeing that I-84 continuing with some of those wet roads through the rest of this afternoon. And then early on into the morning, we saw some spots including Caldwell, Ontario, and other spots in the Treasure Valley that saw some of those storms roll through early on this morning. But as we look on ahead, we are going to see a system that rolls through with a cold front that's going to drop our temperatures and really going to start to bring along some more of those shower chances. Most of that looks to stay confined in areas here through south central Idaho as we get closer into Thursday. But this is a look at Tuesday afternoon, as we are going to see a chance for some of those showers to stick around, mostly focused around areas into the mountains, but could see a chance for some of those thunderstorms there through Tuesday afternoon in the Treasure Valley. And then again, we continue with some of those chances all the way through Wednesday, and that continues on into Thursday, which we're expecting to see there from Mountain Home all the way into the Twin Falls area. They could see some of those showers there into Thursday. But as we look on ahead here, we'll continue with some of those possibilities there all the way through Friday in some of the mountain spots with temperatures dropping down into the upper 50s. We'll continue into the upper 50s there through Sunday with another warm-up expected to come along early into next week. Here in the Twin Falls area, we do expect to see some moderate amount of rain showers that do come along Thursday morning before we see another cool down that comes along in through Friday and Saturday, dropping down from those upper 60s there on Thursday into the upper 50s on Sunday. And then we're going to continue to see some more of that sunshine with temperatures slowly starting to warm up into those low 60s into Monday. And as we look here at our 7-day forecast in Boise, we are going to see that those temperatures will continue into those low 70s through Wednesday. A chance for some isolated showers and a possibility of some thunderstorms rolling along in through Wednesday afternoon. And then as we look on ahead through Thursday and Friday, we are going to see a chance for those temperatures to start to drop. We will continue to see that go down into those low 60s as we head on into Sunday. We expect drier conditions as we're not anticipating most of those storm chances to roll around through Thursday and Friday, expecting to stay dry and through the weekend. Morning temperatures will also drop and dip down into those low 40s, so much cooler temperatures as we get on into the weekend. And then we expect that warm up to come back there into Monday with sunshine returning and temperatures back into the mid to upper 60s.
All right, a couple of more days with at least some rain chances around there in Boise. Want to thank Hector Mendoza for that. All right, let's head closer back to the Pacific coast and across the Pacific Northwest down to Portland, where just like Seattle, things starting off kind of dry today, but more clouds and eventually more of that rain heading back into the area as we go throughout the afternoon and into the night. Meteorologist Rod Hill has the details.
From Portland, I'm Rod Hill. A day that has a little bit of everything. We're starting off all dry. Our cameras are showing we have sunshine, at least partly cloudy skies from the coast to the valley. And then we're tracking this, the north to south elongated band of clouds. And for the most part, I believe there is rain underneath all of these clouds. So this is a front that will hold together. The actual front itself comes into I-5 downtown Portland somewhere around 5 o'clock today. We'll get a little bit of rain out ahead of that. And all total could be about a 4-hour pass of a steady rain band. Here's the way Futurecast shows it. This is 11 o'clock this morning. Here's rain approaching the coast and then certainly raining at the beach by the noon hour today. Here's I-5 right here. So 2 o'clock is our start time. We're trying to time this out perfectly for you. So give or take, around 2 o'clock, rain starts to arrive into downtown Salem, Portland, and Vancouver, coming in from west to east. So obviously, you could be dry a little bit longer if you live up in Sandy or the foothill communities of the Cascades. Here we are at 7 o'clock. So again, maybe a good 4-hour rain band. Eventually, it moves out, and then we have scattered showers this evening. Notice bright colors in Newport, bright red color up around Astoria. So it now looks like it's a scattered shower pattern tonight, scattered shower pattern Wednesday, scattered shower pattern Thursday. But there will be active downpours mixed in, and maybe even we hear some rumbles of thunder. So just for today and that rain band that we just tracked, weather models say up to about a half of an inch of rain falls at the coast and closer to 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of rain falls here in the valley. And then later today, and really more like this evening, there will be some scattered rain amounts make it all the way out across Oregon. So that's what we're looking at. The coast has also been partly cloudy this morning, but already seen the cloudiness increase. And of course, that would be the case with rain coming to you, I think, before the noon hour. Okay, we're not seeing much. The clouds have lowered. This is our Timberline Lodge camera. If it were clear, you'd be looking out over the summit. What I wanted to show you was that we have white. We have snow on the ground at about 7,000 feet this morning. That's 1,000 feet above where Timberline Lodge sits, but it's the first time I've noticed anything up there this fall. All right, now you can see, right? Here's our beautiful partly cloudy sky look over the state capitol down in Salem. Gorgeous morning. Again, temperatures have been upper 40s to 50s, and a similar blue sky, partly cloudy over downtown Portland to start the day. So here come the forecast numbers. We'll be warming up. So Salem, whatever the temperature is right before the rain starts, around 2:30 or 3 at the latest, that's what the high will be. And then, of course, we'll get rain cooled. So this shows 67. There will be some south winds starting to bounce up to about 20 miles per hour or so as that front starts to come in later this afternoon. And then scattered showers overnight. Exact same comments for Southwest Washington. Vancouver 67 and about the same exact temperature up in Longview, 66 degrees. The coast, again, we talked about it raining by the noon hour and then much of the afternoon. Scattered showers this evening. Your highs may hold just shy of 60. And then we only get up into the low 60s or mid 60s or so up and down I-5. This shows 63 in Bend, some 70s out in Pendleton and LeGrand. And again, this is late day scattered shower activity for you folks. All right, so Portland 7-day. As warm as 67, it's whatever will be before the rain starts to kick in. Scattered precip the next couple days. Remember, scattered means maybe you live in a spot where you don't get anything. Maybe you talk to your buddy and they're like, oh my gosh, we had 3 big downpours today, all right? And then all of that's over by Friday morning. And we have a dry forecast Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. East winds will bring clear skies, in fact, on Sunday, and a clear sky day Monday. But those east winds look like they're going to turn out to be gusty in nature.
All right, yeah, looking like Pacific Northwest fall weather here across, well, the Pacific Northwest. All right, we're going to head to a completely different part of the West, and we're going to head down to the Rockies. As Denver, we've had a system move through. We're going to talk about how things are going to dry out, how things should be drier here as we go throughout the day, and for areas getting closer to Phoenix, too, how the monsoonal moisture was pretty good here for the past few months. We're going to get into those details, plus If it isn't obvious by now, rain has been the theme of weather out west the past 2 days, and Seattle should be no stranger to it. But does the Emerald City really get that much compared to others? We break that down as far as the historical nature of Seattle's rain compared to others. All right, welcome back, everyone. So out across the Rockies, we've had a system move through, and well, now things are going to slowly but surely begin to quiet on down, and a lot more sunshine ahead as we go throughout the rest of today, and more so as we head on into the rest of the week. We do have details for you coming from Kathy Sabin, as well as Katie LaSalle, and they'll have the latest right now.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin. We're saying goodbye to September with wonderful weather, beautiful, brilliant color in the high country. The leaves in the mountains are at peak in terms of showing the yellow, the orange, the red. We've gone from Winter Park to Steamboat to Guanilla Pass down to Telluride, and there's still time to see some of the changing leaves if you're coming to Colorado or if you're in Colorado and hoping to get that photography opportunity. High pressure migrated east in response to a low pressure center that was over northern Arizona. It was that low that brought all of that moisture into Colorado, and now it's beginning to trek off to the east, taking with it that moisture plume. So we'll set our sights on the next system moving on shore in the Pacific Northwest, while we also track 2 tropical systems, a tropical storm, Imelda, and a hurricane, yesterday Category 4 Hurricane Umberto, both offshore from the eastern seaboard, but impacts nonetheless from the eastern seaboard of Florida right up through the Carolinas, where they are bracing for flooding and riptides, heavy rain, and high surf. Our moisture is going to be kind of thinning out over the next couple of days. We'll be in between weather systems. We start with sunshine today, high clouds coming in from the southwest, enough heating of the day that we might spark 1 or 2 thunderstorms isolated in nature. Not much happening though with that southwest flow. We start in the 50s, we warm to the mid and upper 70s, just a few degrees above average. 79 today, 80 tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, how about temperatures in the 80s for the first few days of October. That's what we've got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday here in Denver, Colorado. Ahead of the next weather change, cooler weather for the upcoming weekend. Temperatures in the 60s with a chance for showers on Saturday. Of course, we'll cover this, all of it, on the networks of 9 News.
I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle, and as we wrap up the month of September, we're warming up, drying out, but we did see rain yesterday. It brought us showers, rainbows here across the metro area. And I want to take a look back at the month of September for the precipitation that we've seen. Yesterday out at Denver International Airport, we recorded 0.04 inches. That brings our month to date total at 1.76 inches. That is 1.3 inches more than what we typically see in the month of September. And that's nearly a half of an inch departure from average. So typically in a year, we see about 12.5 inches of rain. Since the first of this year, 2025, we have picked up 14.86 inches. That's nearly 2.5 more inches than normal, and those were from records kept back from 1872. Helpful for drought conditions, at least in Denver. The western slope across Colorado absolutely could use some more precipitation as we introduce this next ridge of high pressure. The drought conditions are expected to be completely gone here for the Denver area with last Tuesday's rainfall, but it is really going to stay pretty dry as this ridge builds in across the region through the end of the month. Our 7-day forecast, though, next best chance for picking up some more moisture as we kick off the month of October will be early next weekend.
It's going to be getting pretty warm there, it looks like, in Denver, and well, obviously not quite as warm as what we see down in the desert southwest in Phoenix, but we're just getting done with a decent monsoon season, getting quite a bit of rain here over the past few months there in Phoenix. So on this final day of monsoon season, Ginger Jeffries, she'll have the latest on what's ahead for just not only today, but what we could be expecting here as we head into October.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your weather out west across Arizona, where, yes, today is now the final day of monsoon. And while we are going out kind of quietly, but considering all the action from last week, I think we have definitely met the mark as far as rainfall and as far as an active monsoon season, which was, of course, something we were talking about. So an active monsoon goes hand in hand with a more manageable summer heat. And we certainly had several days this summer in the double digits, which is something we didn't see last year or the year before. Today, we're going to continue on that trend with daytime highs staying sub-century mark and a little bit of thin cloud cover as the day caps out. Beautiful sunsets, amazing sunrises during the day. Nothing but net. We've got nice clear skies, but overnight, just a couple thin clouds filtering in. None of these clouds are capable of producing any showers. So across the board, you can see this from east to west, north to south. We do not have any shower activity on this final day of monsoon. Doesn't mean we don't have rain that could come into the forecast, but at least for the next 5 to 7 days, we are looking pretty manageable. Now, remember yesterday, I started to talk about a little bit of wind that's going to be settling in to the northern tier of the state. This does not measure up to any kind of advisory status. So we're not looking for high velocity wind, and the duration of the wind is not going to hit those advisories, but it is a sign that we've got this dry low pressure system pushing through to the north. So it's going to kick a little bit of cloud cover our direction, but the key there is dry. So again, no rainfall and clear skies, but it's enough to keep our temperatures exactly where they're supposed to be. And that means 76 today in Payson. I've got 96 in Phoenix, about 96 in Yuma. As far as our monsoon, here we go, your final monsoon meter of this season. And again, nothing but zeros on the board. So I think it's just very interesting how we ramped up in epic proportions on Friday and Saturday and seeing the tail end on Sunday. And then literally we just cut the spigot off today. But as far as our season goes, the totals officially above our average range. Normal rainfall for us, just a little bit under 2.5 inches. And as you can see, we are finalizing monsoon 2025 with 2.76, so almost 2 3/4, a little over 2 3/4 inches on the year. And as far as the rainfall totals, I've got some expanded view for you so you can see it was a traditional monsoon, hit and miss. We see heavy activity in one area. I mean, look at Tempe and Paradise Valley and Fountain Hills, North Scottsdale. But then meantime on the West Valley, just not as much rainfall from all that action that was moving on through that. Obviously, we've been bringing you all the coverage on the devastating flooding in our mountains where we saw well over 3 inches of rain. But now in our Futurecast data, there's still some tropical energy, but all this is pushing away, and it doesn't look like any of that release is going to get caught up and brought our direction. Instead, because we are going to be on the dry side from the high country into Phoenix, that means I really want to zero in on the winds. So the wind is keeping that moisture away from us. And as far as a big wind event, it just doesn't look like that high velocity wind that I mentioned. About 15, maybe 25 mile an hour maximum. And most of it is just going to be on that northwest corner of the state. I don't even think our winds here in Phoenix are going to get over 10, 15 miles an hour, but the wind is enough to keep the skies nice and clear. So how does that translate to your temperatures? Oh man, it is nice. The overnights definitely feeling like fall. We are going to see a little bit of a warm up as highs are going to go from about 60s into the low 70s. But here in the valley, we've got only double-digit highs on the board. And most importantly, key into those overnight conditions as we are dropping into the 60s.
All right, things looking drier there in Phoenix. So as we go on here later on, it looks like right after the break, we are going to be talking about some of that tropical moisture Kathy Sabin was talking about. And it's out there across the East Coast. Thankfully, it doesn't look like things are too bad, but we're going to get into the latest on that with your national forecast. Plus, take a look at the rest of the nation, how things are shaping up for us when we're coming back. Welcome back, everyone. So we are going to get into your national forecast right now, but I wanted to point out just how active it seems like the Atlantic has been with its tropical activity here recently. Thankfully, a lot of it's been staying off of that eastern seaboard, off of that East Coast, and really not impacting too much of the East Coast, other than, yeah, maybe some strong rip currents. But we're going to talk about that right now. Meteorologist Julie Martin has the details.
Still dealing with some dangerous surf out there along the East Coast from Hurricane Imelda. That will continue on for the next couple of days. Also some rain and storms from the southeast into the mid-Atlantic associated with the hurricane, and then some showers and storms on the west coast also, where we'll be unsettled for a couple of days. In terms of those highs today, still a bit above average here in the Midwest. We have the 80s from Minneapolis to Indianapolis, 70s in and around the Great Lakes up into New England. The Mid-Atlantic, you'll be in the 80s, and then we've got those 80s draping all across the deep south into Florida. Center of the country, again, looking a little warmer than average here in the Southern Plains. In Texas, we'll see 89 in Dallas-Fort Worth. Nice day here in Denver with 78. Cool weather, though, as we head to the Pacific Northwest. That's where we've got highs only in the 60s for Seattle and Portland. And then in California, we will be in the 70s. Not really a severe weather threat out there today. Nothing organized showing up on the Storm Prediction Center. Could just see a few pockets of some rainstorms here or there, places like Atlanta, and then maybe in and along the Rockies and the Great Basin region, but nothing organized. All right, here is Hurricane Imelda, now a 75-mile-per-hour storm. Category 1 storm that is currently spinning north of Bermuda. It is going to continue on to push out to sea over the next couple of days. Of course, we have the other hurricane, Humberto, back here well out to sea as well. But what's going to happen is this is going to really kick up a lot of surf, a lot of wave action, and even some showers and storms from places like Florida all the way up into the mid-Atlantic. But you'll notice here what happens over the next few days. It does intensify by Wednesday, looking at a Category 2 storm perhaps Wednesday into Thursday, and then really just losing its steam as it moves out to sea well away from any land. So that's good news with Imelda, but the dangerous surf and those big swells along the East Coast, those will be with us for several days. So take it easy out there. All right, here are your regional temperatures here in the West. Again, chilly, cloudy in Seattle. We've got 70s in San Diego, 96 with sunshine in Phoenix. A few storms coming your way in Sacramento. And then in Denver, a nice day for you, a mix of sun and clouds near 80 degrees. Austin, Houston, you'll be in the 90s, and Dallas-Fort Worth, also pretty pleasant out there with sunny skies and 90s. New Orleans, you'll be around 92 degrees. We'll only see 80 in Atlanta. Charlotte, a little bit cooler than average in the 70s for you. Minneapolis looks like cloudy skies with 82. We'll see those clouds in D.C. Indianapolis, Buffalo, both looking pretty nice with lots of sunshine. All right, here again is your big board of temperatures, looking at a relatively quiet day across much of the U.S.
You've heard it here before, maybe not here, but at least in your circles, right? That Seattle is always cloudy and rainy. But that may not be true. We'll explain that stereotype when we come back. The Pacific Northwest is famous for a rainy reputation. From movies to video games, our region is often depicted as rainy and cloudy. It's one of the #1 questions Seattleites get from people out of the state. Does it really always rain a lot? Even though we're known for it, we actually aren't the rainiest city in the country. Seattle's Perella Lewis tells us why we get that reputation.
Well, if you're from Western Washington, or maybe you're new to this area and you've heard the rumor Seattle gets a lot of rain, right? It's known as the rainy place. But the truth is, it doesn't really rain here a whole lot. Let me show you, compared to a few other cities, Jacksonville, Florida gets about 53 inches of rain per year. Houston, Texas, about 51 inches of rainfall. In Greenville, South Carolina, about 49 inches of rain per year. But look at Seattle, barely compares, only about 39 inches of rain per year. So where does that reputation come from? Well, I think it's the clouds, the overcast. We have more dreary days than other places. In fact, when we take a look at cloudy days, Seattle averages about 226 cloudy days per year, compared to Boise, Idaho at 155 and Phoenix at only 70 cloudy days per year. When you factor in that oftentimes some of those clouds will give us a little bit of spit, right? A little bit of mist, a little bit of light rain rain occasionally. That just kind of makes for more of a dreary winter time, late fall into winter pattern. And I think that's where that comes from. You also have to keep in mind that not only does Seattle not get a lot of rainfall, we are blocked from getting a lot of rainfall due to something called the Olympic rain shadow. A lot of times our winds are out of the southwest, and as it moves up that wall known as the Olympic Mountains, that air actually cools and condenses and does squeeze out quite a bit of rain and sometimes some snowfall for the mountains and the other side of the mountains. But as that air does come back down, it actually warms back up again and dries out. So there are places like Port Townsend and Sequim that barely get any rainfall per year. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mountains, Forks and Quaalude, for instance, over 100 inches of rain. Meanwhile, Seattle still only about 39 inches of rainfall. So as you can see, compared to most other cities in the U.S., we really don't get that much rain.
All right, and well, now you know. That does it for us here on Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Adam Claybon. Thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.